Uh-oh.
So on. Okay, Clarice is on. Okay. Okay. Is Adam on? Adam's on. Okay.
Hi, Rhonda. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like, who's all on? It is recording though. I think it's recording.
Yep, it is. It gave me a notice when I was logging in that
Okay.
we were being recorded.
Okay. Because I wasn't for sure. When I have a busy day, I don't check. So I think Pat and Clarice are on. And I think Dara's on too.
Uh-oh.
I've been. Give people some time to get on then. Okay.
Yeah, Rhonda, whenever you're ready, let me know and I can go ahead and kick
I am
things
ready
off.
right now. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you want to give people another couple minutes to see if anyone's running later?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I know Livy's going to be running late. Hold on. I have to answer this real quick. Yeah, Pat and Clarice are having a hard time getting on because they're coming down the mountain out of in California. So she's going to keep trying to get in.
All right. Sounds good.
And we can go ahead and start, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll go ahead and get started.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
Perfect. All right, we'll go ahead and get things started. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. For those of you who haven't been on one of these calls before, I'm Adam Bunker, and it's my pleasure to serve as the president of the board for the Wyoming Food Coalition. Our coalition is a statewide nonprofit that is working to strengthen local food systems by connecting stakeholders and amplifying their voices so that Wyoming producers, eaters, and environments thrive. Now that's a pretty broad mission. So what does it really mean? Well, it means that what we're doing is working to improve food systems in Wyoming on everything from helping producers grow more food to ensuring that every person in Wyoming has access to healthy, nutritious food. And of course, an important piece of that is focusing specifically on helping build strong Native communities. In what is now Wyoming, people of Eastern Shoshone, Arapaho, Cheyenne, and other nations thrived by hunting and harvesting buffalo, chokecherries, and other foods. And so as we look to improve statewide food systems, we have to acknowledge that these Native communities have their own opportunities, challenges, and unique solutions. For example, it's not just about helping producers thrive, but also being able to succeed in growing culturally relevant crops. So while our other working groups include topics that would also include the needs of Native communities, it's for these reasons that the Food Coalition has a working group specifically focused on building strong Native communities. If tonight's session sparks your interest, I would encourage you to visit wyfoodcoalition.org. You can learn more about our work, and we'd love to have you get involved by clicking the Join Us link. Please note, as you've already probably noticed, we will be recording this session, so if you do not want your picture available on the recordings, please feel free to turn off your video. Before I hand things over, I just want to take a moment to thank you for your time tonight. We know that evenings are an important time for folks, especially as the weather gets nicer, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. So please make yourselves comfortable, grab some food, get a beverage, bring in your pets or little ones, and enjoy the session. Tonight's program is hosted by the Strong Native Communities Working Group, and it's now my pleasure to introduce Rhonda Bowers, the Working Group Chair, and someone who has been instrumental in guiding how the Wyoming Food Coalition can help Native communities. Rhonda, it's all yours.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Bowers, and I do run the Strong Native Communities Working Group. And I have, oh God, let me go look for my schedule. I have Dara Perez. She should be talking here now. And then Pat and Clarice Harris. And then Jordan Dresser can't make it because he's on the flight home. So yeah, that's all I have for. And then you guys, we can take more questions and answers at the end since Jordan's not on. So. And Derek can go.
All right,
first.
thank you. So my camera is not too great, but I'm gonna go ahead and go forward. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Wind River Grow Our Own. So Wind River Grow Our Own, we started in the wake of the pandemic when we didn't have the food on the shelves in local grocery stores. And so Danica Barrett and I, we are both co-founders, and we came up with an idea of how to get people motivated and keep them inspired to continue to grow their or to start growing their own food. So we're in our second year, and so this year, you know, we have return gardeners where we are continuing to grow our own food. A lot of the gardeners that we have as participants, a lot of them are first-time gardeners, and so we have to include educational aspects for them to, you know, grasp the concept of growing their own food. I'm also an employee of the University of Wyoming Sensible Nutrition Program, and so we've been doing some partnerships with including them with recipes and the Sensible Nutrition courses, which is an 8-week class. So we've been doing that with the Grow Our Own gardeners. We've been including them, and you know, so far so good. You know, we've had 11 people, you know, registered in the class that we're taking. We're on lesson 4. So we've got that going, and other things we got going is we're transitioning into medicinal and traditional plants. And so we've been giving out chokecherry trees by the bare root. We've gave out a total of 700 trees, and 400 of those were chokecherry trees. We also gave out blackcurrant trees, currants, which are shrubs, and we gave some of those out, total 200, and then we gave out 100 eastern red cedar trees. We had events here. We grew or we planted 100 trees in the Ethity location, and that is down by the Little Wind Casino. down at the Little Wind River. So we have trees going there, and we just went and checked on them today, and they're budding, they're sprouting, and it looks awesome. You know, it looks good. So the only problem we really have with that is the watering system. So we bought a pump that we get water from the river, and we are still waiting on a little bit of funding to get additional hoses so that we can go further out. So the trees that are further out, they're getting dry. So we've been really reliant on the rain, and you know, I've been really happy about it. Um, so yeah, so we got that, and then we also provided some trees to the Fort Washakie School District number 21. So we gave them some trees, and they had a ceremony, an event. They planted the trees and talked about goats up, which is the term for chokecherry gravy in the Eastern Shoshone language. Um, so yeah, so we've been doing things like that. And another thing we did this year is we ordered some sweetgrass. We didn't order a lot. We just ordered enough, you know, to give out to a few people. And you know, our hopes is that, you know, people start growing it and that we can start giving it out to other people. So these are some of the things that we want to continue for years to come, you know. So I think we've kind of found our niche where, you know, we know where we need to, you know, provide service and help. Um, so yeah, a lot of it is just you know, getting people motivated, keeping them motivated, and that's really hard, you know. And so we're doing a few things. We got a research grant from the Equality State Research Network. We got a grant from them to bring on 75 more gardeners. Last year we started off with I think it was 59 gardeners, 59 people that we helped with garden boxes, which we created out of used pellets that were donated to us. So, you know, we got more gardeners this year. We got a Wyoming Hunger Initiative grant that we were building garden boxes in the winter time. So there was a community here, you know, learning how to build the garden boxes, and we were paying them stipends that we got from um, one of our donors. She helped out to provide that. So yeah, and so it was awesome. It was a great experience. We built 100 boxes with additional funding from the Laramie Presbyterian Church, United Presbyterian Church. They provided extra funding to serve an additional 50. So that brought us up to 150. And then with the Equality State Research Network grant, that brought us up to 225. And so, you know, everybody got a little bit different things. So like the people who got the garden boxes, they got seeds and soil that was donated from the University of Wyoming and also the Sensible Nutrition Program. And so they were provided those. So the next set of people, the new people, they got earth boxes. You know, we didn't have time because we were too late in the season. So they got earth boxes that we ordered and went through the local supplier here, which is Griff Sprouts Greenhouse. So yeah, and he's been really good to us. And so some of the ideas with getting, you know, more people, because you know, we have a large community, and sometimes, you know, we can't reach everyone, and it's really sad and unfortunate sometimes because, you know, we're not able to help everyone. And you know, I have a big heart, and it really hurts me because I love to help everyone, and I wish we could, you know. um so what we've been doing is kind of just partnerships with programs. And so we planted 2 chokecherry trees and a rhubarb plant and raspberry bushes. So we planted those at programs. So far we've gotten the Eastern Shoshone Recovery Program where we planted those items. We planted down at the White Buffalo program. We delivered some items and let them plant them themselves there. And then we also delivered some rhubarb and raspberry today to the diabetes program down in Ethity. Oh, and then another thing. So we have a master gardener on board with us, and her name is Dana Hinkle. And so today she wanted to reach out to the dialysis center and see what kind of needs they had. And so we stopped in there, and that is located in Fort Washakie. So we stopped in there, and you know, lo and behold, they wanted some chokecherry trees and a rhubarb. and a raspberry bush. And so we just got done planting there. And then so yeah, and so some of the things with that is just the educational tip I've been telling people, make sure when you're planting trees that you're pushing down, because what we found is like when it's not pushed down, that those roots can get killed. And the reason I say that is because some of the trees down at the ECD location, that was the issue with some of them that they didn't take. So, I'm just reminding people, make sure that when you're planting trees and planting them, that you're pushing down and getting that air out of there. So yeah, and so some other things, we have a lot going on. So we started tilling gardens as well. We bought 2 tillers this year, tillers plus the one that we had last year. And so we've been, getting gardens done quickly. 2 people on 1 garden with each having a tiller, it really makes a difference. So yeah, we got that going on. Some of the sweetgrass here. So I still have, a few of them left that I'm hoping, we can learn how to start propagating them so we can get more seeds grown and, so we can start distributing our own. Because yeah, they were quite expensive. We ordered them from a company in, I think it's North Carolina, called the Blue Moon Nursery. So yeah. But other than that, I mean, I'm just really glad and I'm fortunate, to be able to be involved in this work. It's important to me. It's very important. And through all the partnerships, without the community, without the people involved, none of this could be possible. So I'm really, really happy and glad and grateful. So I don't know how much time I had, but yeah, that's kind of all I had. Are we taking questions or is that at the end?
At the end.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you all.
On the next is Pat and Clarice Harris. And they're going to talk about the community garden that we're putting in. So with Wind River Nations and what we're up to.
Okay, I'm Clarice. Sorry about we're on the phone. I got my days mixed up. I thought this Zoom meeting was tomorrow. So I had plans because we're not home, we're in California and we're staying at a house that doesn't have any internet. So I was going to go to my niece's place and do it, but I'm a day behind, whatever. Anyway, we're on our way home. We just left South Lake Tahoe and we're heading down the mountain towards Gardnerville, California. So if I go in and out, that's what's happening. So we're in the car. As you can see, the kids are sitting in the back. And so when Rhonda asked us if we wanted to speak, we have been involved with gardening our whole lives. And we sat on the Growing Resilience CAB, the Community Advisory Board, and for a few years now, which was a program which had 100 gardens. And that was a program that we sat on the board for. And I did work as a VISTA worker for 1 year on with that. And we did see that the garden spaces were put in with raised boxes or in ground. There are several gardeners that have continued on and doing real well. I don't know. And then like Rhonda said, we're involved with the community garden, which is a project that the Community Advisory Board has taken upon itself. And we want, what our goal is to continue gardening, if not individually, then in a community setting. So we did have it for 2 years. The first year we didn't have ample, we had water, but not enough, or can't remember what happened. Horses got in there and tore everything up. So that kind of went. The next year, the grasshoppers came in and just the plants that were in the ground and starting to do well, they were all completely ate up. So, and then this year we have relocated. We're in the process of relocating the garden. The place that we had first is going to be having some construction work done, and weren't sure if they were going to be utilizing the area where the garden. We're relocating to a different area, and we do, Pat and I are kind of like community people that kind of try to get involved. We don't get involved in all kinds of projects, and we are supporting of the farmers market, and the Wind River Nations is going to be the new name for the gardening, the community gardens. And we want to do raised boxes and in ground. So it just takes time. And when we had 5 members, and we've been trying to, and we've been helping with different programs too, like Dara was saying, we've all kind of mingled each other and supporting each other. We did the, like she said, the Chokecherries at the school where my children go to school there. So they were involved in the chokecherry planting. And then we did we helped with the greenhouse that the university built at the Frank Wise building. We did that. And we've just kind of involved in stuff. I guess we're just a couple that just looking for some ways to help. We did go down and help the what is it, the White Buffalo recovery. They were starting their seeds inside their little greenhouse that they have, but we haven't had a chance to get down there. They had a lot of people on leave, so I don't know how that project is coming, but it's I don't know what else to say. But we do the community garden, the farmers market, and then at our house, we usually have a garden. We haven't got it in because we've been gone now for a week, and we won't be home till next weekend. And we had a graduation in San Francisco, so now we're heading back to Big Pine, California, and then we'll be going back to Wyoming. So we won't be there till next weekend and see what get our stuff started, even through because we have a personal greenhouse at our house. And I don't know, I guess Rhonda, was that?
Yeah, that's about all. They're my go-to people. I go to them.
There's Pat.
Then there's Pat. Yeah, he's my go-to person. He helps me out a lot. Me and him been on the growing. We have done several. When we did, I helped them with the beds when they did with the growing resilience. I helped them fill them. We're putting in this new community. We're putting in a relocation, the new community garden. My family's going to be the ones that are going to sign off on the MOU with the Wind River Nations, and they're into gardening. A lot of them are into gardening, so they said, yeah, we can go for it because it's providing the food to the community. That's basically what we're doing. I am the chair of the board too for that. And it gets crazy this time of the year. I can say the least, because we just now cleaned out our high tunnel here at the office today. So getting it all cleaned up and getting ready to get it planted here soon. But today being 72 degrees, and then it's like 100 and something inside the high tunnel, it was not too fun. I'm like burnt out. And then having the market tonight, and it's been a challenge.
Oh, that's right. Today was
farmers market.
Farmers market. I tell you, I have been mixed up all week on my days, and I swear tomorrow was the meeting. I've made arrangements for the internet and everything, and here I am. So today I was sitting here driving thinking, was that on the 27th or was it the 28th? And so I told my son, get on there and find out, am I on the wrong day? And I was.
Yummy
So we were
cheese.
coming down the mountain, and I said, do I have service on my phone? I'm going to have to do it on the phone. I can't, just not. I tried to call, but there was no number. But anyway, we, as a whole, we all try to keep the gardens going. It's become a very popular subject and project on the reservation. So,
yep. And more and more people want gardens. I mean, this year is coming out of woodworks. It's just holy, this is crazy. And Pat, I have one that's been asking me when Pat's gonna go till her garden. because she's been asking me for like months beforehand, and we usually do it anyway. And it was like yesterday I get a call with, when are they gonna be here? I'm like, after the 7th. I don't know, whenever they get home. I don't know. I don't keep their schedule. So yeah, it's been a crazy time for us with us with the board, and then with the market. I mean, market's coming slowly. We're getting some vendors. I mean, today we only had four vendors. Not very many people, even though it's payday. It's
Oh, you
kinda-
had 4?
Yeah, we only had 4. It's kind of crazy. Last week we had 5, and then when we opened, we had 10. So I don't know. It's just a hit and miss. Maybe when we start having more vegetables, more fruit and vegetables, maybe the crowd's going to draw in. We don't know. It all depends. It could be just because there's graduations going on and it's a holiday weekend. We don't know. So that's about all. And then Jordan can't get on either, so he's flying in the air to get home. So that's
Okay.
who I had. So whenever you guys want to ask questions. Yeah. Oh, there she is again. She's bouncing off and on.
Rhonda, I have a question. You had mentioned that this year you've seen a huge jump in how many people are interested in gardening. What have been some of the biggest challenges that people have run into in trying to get started? Like, what's kind of the biggest barrier they've run into that they're needing help with?
You have to hold their hand, basically. You have to hold their hand and go out there with them and teach them. And be every step of the way, you have to be there with them. Sometimes some of them would tell us that, when does the vegetables come on? Or come and do it for us. Come to plant for us. Or the other questions were, is grasshoppers are going to be the problem? Or what was the other one I've got? How does this grow? Or things like that. I mean, there's simple questions that I can answer. If I can't answer it, I ask Amanda, or I just ask my dad, because he has an ag major. So it's like, well, okay, well, I'll just ask my dad if I can't get the answer. So and then also it could be because of where the reservation sits, and in Fremont County, there's 3 different zones, the zones for who plants what and plants where, and what's easier, and the ground and stuff like that. But yeah, you have to actually hold their hand, basically. And that's most of their problems, that you have to hold their hand. And like with the Growing Resilience, their first year when they got the gardens, it was a crapshoot, because it all depended on when you planted and when to harvest, and then getting the water, and it all depended on the air. It's all a science. But then when you get the second year, you're learning those trials the first year, and then their second year, you're fine. So. Yeah.
It's chipmunking, Leroy.
Leroy, you're in chipmunk mode.
How about that?
There you go.
What type of plants are they putting into the boxes? What kind of garden seed or plants, like lettuce and stuff like that?
I think a lot of them were putting in tomatoes, peppers, herb seeds, corn. I don't know. They had all kinds of, well, and then some of them were trying to put in squash, pumpkins. It was like, well, your pumpkins and squash are going to take up your whole bed. I mean, I'm like, and then telling them how to plant and which ones go with each other was kind of, that's where I was getting confused, because I was like, well, I have my dad, so I have him sitting here telling me how to plant, but then when you tell somebody else what he says, it was like, oh, I must be telling. I was like, I better go ask him again, because I had all these same questions every time. But and then of course last year when I planted tomatoes and peppers, I was getting tomatoes about this big, and I had hardly any bees. So I don't know, maybe it's because I even had flowers out for pollinators, but still hardly anything. And then of course it was so dry too, so I don't know.
Dara, you just handed out a bunch of seedlings. What plants were people asking for those smaller boxes? Like, 'cause your boxes are smaller than the growing resilience plots.
Yeah, and so when we handed out seeds, we just handed out random things. And I know we put up a bunch of corn, bean, squash, the three sisters. And then when we passed out the 75 boxes with that one, we gave out plant starts instead of seeds. So it was divided up into whatever the gardener ate and liked. And so they had an option between either a salad garden, which came with lettuce, and it came with tomato, and I think it came with cilantro. And then the other option was an Italian garden, and that one was more like peppers, tomatoes, onions. The other garden was a salsa garden, and that one was peppers and jalapenos and um, some basil and cilantro, I believe. So yeah, and so I think that that one was awesome because, when you deliver a live plant to the participant, they get excited. They get excited, and it was awesome. We took a lot of great pictures, and I'm hoping that we can blow them up and create maybe a collage or something. So I mean, yeah, and so we're hoping that gardeners can stick with it, because that's what we find out a lot is with growing seeds, it takes more time and attention. Last year, one of our gardeners said it was harder. She didn't know it was harder than taking care of kids, is what she said. And so, I always remember that. And so yeah, and so when they grow from the seeds, like Rhonda said, you have to babysit them, and kind of make sure that everyone is reminded, you have to water, you can't skip watering, or you can't overwater, and all them crazy things with gardening. But yeah, and so it's trial and error, it's live and learn, and so we give our gardeners a lot of resources and tools. And one of the things I always say as well, especially when we're teaching in schools, is that, YouTube and Google are our best friend, and if we ever want to know something, just get on there and say, how do I grow this? Or what kind of plant do I plant it with? How do I take care of it? Anything you can always learn that way too. But yeah, and so that's all I have.
I have a question. My name's Scott. I'm with Slow Food in the Tetons. I was curious to learn more about the chokecherry trees. Are those being planted on public land, or is that private land? And does it get harvested by the community or by, I don't know. I think it's such a wonderful initiative. And do you mind telling us a little bit more, or telling me?
Yeah, and so the chokecherries, we had a partnership created with the Northern Arapaho Tribal Historic Preservation Office, and Crystal Seabearing did a lot of the partnership and working to have the land designated for where the chokecherry trees are in Ethity, and that land is owned by the Northern Arapaho tribe. And so in Fort Washakie, where the chokecherry trees are, that land is owned by the Fort Washakie School District. And so it's right there, right in front of their administration building. So yeah, to answer your question.
Oh, and who is it harvested and does it go to the schools, or who's
So the chokecherry tree, it's gonna take years. And so like the trees that we planted are probably not for us. They're for the younger generations if they do take and sustain themselves and produce berries. And so that will be for years to come for the little ones that are growing up now. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just a comment on the chokecherry, speaking from experience, even if they were the little seedling trees, we planted some 11 years ago, and you'd be surprised. We're harvesting 2 years ago, I don't know how many gallons of chokecherries. So they're from this generation. They're not next generation. Chokecherries are tough, and they're a tremendous plant. Great winds break and stuff. So yeah, it's not for the next generation. You folks, yeah, you'll be eating them probably in about 2 or 3 years, if not sooner. Man, probably about 4 years. I think
Yeah,
they go
because
to
the ones
hard.
I planted my own at my house, they're 21 years old, except for those other ones. And we were harvesting within 2 or 3 years off of those ones.
Awesome. That's good news.
I have another question on Rhonda and Dara. Both of you mentioned water, and Dara, I think you mentioned getting a pump to come from the river. I guess my question is, how much of a challenge is water, and what are the sources you use? Because I know even here, I'm up in Sheridan, and we have a well, but even our well water, it makes do, but it's really high in sodium. So those poor plants, when we use it, they get through, but we see a lot of challenges. And so I'm wondering if that is a challenge for you as well that you have to address. Is that why you're pulling water from the river?
Oh, if you're pulling like me, I pull my water from the ditch from my house. For the community garden, we're gonna be pulling it from the creek, and the water is actually if you're pulling it from like the river or the creek, you're getting it naturally off the mountain. So you're getting actually the purified water from the mountain once it comes down the river. So.
And let me add to that. So I've never appreciated water as much as I do now because like I said, our hose doesn't reach all the way to the back. And so we have 2 buckets out there and we're constantly, filling those up and walking them out to the trees in the far back. And so we have to do that until our funding comes in. And so yeah, and so it's taught me how to appreciate water a lot more. And I've been praying a lot more for rain as well. But yeah.
There were a couple questions in the chat. One was about the involvement of kids in the gardening, and then someone else asked about the use of chokecherries.
We will have kids at the community garden. We're gonna, I think I have my sister's gonna my family's gonna put in a plot, so we have a lot of kids in our family, so. They're welcome to come and learn. I mean, I haven't been teaching little kids constantly, so. And then my niece today, she was here helping me and Matt to clean out the high tunnel. She loves it, so. And she's 16, 17 years old. I mean, 15, 16 years old. Yeah.
And with CNP, we went down to Wyoming Indian and taught garden in a glove. So we were teaching, students how to, grow seeds from just a rubber glove. So we did that. And then we were actually, Grower Own was invited, and I'm going to also be teaching some CMP classes in that. We were invited to do the summer school program. So it'll be starting the 2nd week in June. And so we'll be going there for 3 weeks. And then we were also invited down to the Arapahoe School. And so we've been doing a lot of partnerships with the Nita M. Lowry after school program. And they have the big greenhouse down at the Arapahoe School. So yeah, and so it's amazing, kids grow and they eat what they grow. And it's just awesome to see.
And as for chokecherries, you can make chokecherry jelly, syrup, chokecherry gravy. You can make tea out of it. And it's a good shade. I'm allergic to when they start pollinate, so I try to stay inside most of the time because I can't be outside when they start pollinating.
One of the things that on the Tri-State Food Coalition was in November, and Rhonda, I don't remember whether you sat in on that or
Yeah, I
not.
did.
Remember what one of the tribes they've actually had their students set up farmers markets. They
Farmers
were
markets, yeah.
marketing.
Yeah.
And, I thought that was pretty innovative and, a great way to involve the kids because they actually learned marketing. They were growing the crop. They learned how to market it. And I don't remember whether that was which reservation that was, but it was
It's
one of the,
it's coming off of
was it the Rosebud?
Rosebud and
Pine
what are
Ridge?
they called? I think it's Assiniboine Sioux. And it's up there by either it's in South Dakota or North Dakota, but I know it's there's three tribes right there. And then they also have their market right on the place where they're at.
Right.
And
the kids were actually, I thought it was a really cool educational, whether it be Native American or not, I thought it was just a great educational tool for any kid, any student that wanted to learn about growing, number one, and marketing. They had the high tunnels, and I was impressed. I was really impressed with what they were doing. It was in South Dakota, and I can't remember. I know Rosebud was one of them, and I think maybe one of the other,
I think it's Assiniboine Sioux, and I can't think of the other tribe because I was reading about them when I was doing my research for school too. And they have an awesome market. They have that awesome program for kids and stuff like that. So
I was gonna add, so I'm on the research side of the Growing Resilience Project that is sort of ending, but it was about the health impacts of home gardens. And just about kids' involvement, I was really struck. In the pilot version, we only included adults in the health measures, like the families included kids in the gardening, but only adults in the health measures back in like 2011. And all the families that participated in the community advisory board at the time was like, you have to include children, not only in the gardening, but in the health measures, in the entire thing. So, and I think Clarice and Pat and Rhonda could all testify to people who have children, the children are in the garden.
Yeah, once you have to put your whole family in there. I mean, children and all. My sister she has her daughter, her granddaughter, her two grandbabies, and my nephew. And my niece, she went planted. Well, she told her to go plant pumpkins in the garden, right? But she went plant pumpkins between the two apple trees. So she had pumpkin seeds growing there. And then she had strawberries in her garden. She thought it was her grandson that was eating her strawberries. And then all this time it was a chipmunk. And it was perfect on one side. Oh yeah, she attests to that.
Rhonda, I think it looks like there was a question in the chat asking if you can give us the recipe for chokecherry gravy, and what is it?
Chokecherry gravy you boil your chokecherries. It could be fresh or frozen. Make sure you boil them, get the juice. You're gonna have to what they call it, strain it, because you have to get the seeds out. And then once you get all the seeds out and get the juice and the pulp, and then you can add, you just boil that, and then you add cornstarch, whatever, cornstarch or flour to thicken it, and then sugar, and just taste it, make sure it has enough sugar in it, so until it gets thickened, because you don't eat the seeds. The seeds are not good for you. You can grind them up with it. I mean, I have seen people do it, but the seeds are not good for you.
Do you have any tips for harvesting choke cherries? Because every time I pick mine, I feel like I'm doing it wrong with how long it takes.
And once if you smell them, if you can smell them, they're like, if you, normally if it's a dark purple, it all depends on the chokecherry tree, because some of them throw red and they're ripe. You can pick them off and taste them. If they taste an almond taste, like you can taste an almond and flavor in it, they're ready. But spit your seeds out. Just please spit your seeds out. I had some that swallowed seeds before, so that's why I said spit your seeds out. But yeah, they'll taste like an almond flavor. They'll give you that like I can't explain it, but it's like I don't know, it makes my tongue go numb. So I don't know. I like eating chokecherries. I mean, I pick and I eat them. So
You do.
yeah.
And don't worry, Adam. Yeah, don't worry, Adam. The birds will let you know when they're ripe.
Yeah, the birds will let you know they're ripe because they'll flock towards them. Trust
Right.
me.
A little bit before they're ripe, actually.
Yeah.
I'm like you, Rhonda. I love chokecherry just raw. I mean, after you get your mouth puckered up, they're great.
Yeah.
And the seeds can be poisonous because it's the same family as cherry and apricots and stuff like that.
It has arsenic in it. So.
Yeah, right. But no, the birds will let you know.
Yeah, the birds will let you know. Trust me. I know the birds let me know all the time. And yeah, because I have 14 chokecherries at my house. So the birds really do let me know. I've grown up on chokecherries, currants, and I've grown up with chokecherry gravy. My mom always used to make it. My sister makes it. I'm learning, so I've made currant gravy the same way. In currants, you don't have to. I mean, I just boil my berries, and make it perfectly because currants don't have seeds in them. So, and the currants have a different purple than the chokecherries. It's like a pinkish purple. So,
Mhm.
and then chokecherries, it's a dark purple.
Well, and there's 3 or 4 different varieties of currant too. There's the yellow, the red, and the black, and that. So yeah, the chokecherries are really easy to grow. And what I found, of course, I grew up with them too. Really, I haven't had any disease problems with chokecherries at all. You might find some tent caterpillars or something like that, but they're a few aphids once in a while. But they're a pretty good shelter belt tree. Another one that I really like is the elderberry.
Yeah, elderberry. Yeah. But yeah, all tribes, we survived on chokecherries, all the berries that were edible, and tribes have survived on berries, and that's part of our staple. It's generations after generations.
And you can also use a chokecherry for wine.
Yeah, that too. My dad used to make wine. Chokecherries and plums.
Awesome. Thank you for all that information. It looks like there's another question in the chat from
Yeah, I
Tracy.
see that when adults interact with children and families in the garden, I wonder if you can talk about rich history of native foods. And I have, when my nieces and nephews work with me. My dad explains a lot of stuff like with the soil in what areas we are in. My uncle that just passed away, God, it's been 2 months now. He always asked me, he's like, do you pray over your seeds? And I told him I did with my corn, because my corn got really tall. So I did with my corn. It's just, there's certain things that on my side of the family they used to do that, and so I do it myself. My brother does. He prays, like, talks and rapple whenever time we plant, like if we're, because we're gonna be planting that sweet grass, so he's gonna be the one that's gonna be planting it, not me. So, and he knows what to do, and I just follow him. And yeah, the children know, they all know when they're with the family. So
Tara, you posted something about the medicinal value of chokecherries, including the seeds in small quantities. Did you want to say more about that?
No, what I was gonna say to the last question was just that, you know, with the grant funding that we received with the Equality State Research Network, the whole idea is to create storyboard and capture some of those stories. And so that's just what I was going to add. And we plan to do that. My partner is in the film program, so you know we want to go a little extra and try to capture every moment, because what we're seeing is that, you know, when especially children, you know, when they're growing things and learning how to grow, it opens up that ancestral memory, and it's amazing to see. And you know, and even in adults too. So it's awesome, and hoping we can, you know, capture some of that on film and also audio.
yeah, when Derek came and tilled my garden last night, in one little corner we found round rocks that were never there before. I mean, they were like that round, like sweat rocks. So I told my sister, I said, well, you have a bunch of eggs here, you can come and get them. And there was 13 of them, and we didn't know where they came from. We really don't know where they came from. So
They just kept coming. I was like, there's another one.
so yeah, my dad said, you must have really did something to, either you were out there praying or you were doing something kind of crazy, because we never get those. I never did. I mean, my other garden I did because my sister's the one that helped me till, but this one I wasn't. I was just standing out there watching these two, and I didn't know where they came from. And I just told my sister, well, you got your eggs now. They're here. Your rocks are here. So
You will never have a rock failure. I don't care how dry or how wet, you will always have a rock crop and weeds.
yeah, and that's sweetgrass right there.
We just now planted it.
What is that, Dara?
Sweetgrass.
Oh, wow, cool.
Oh yeah, they also use the chokecherries in pemmican, or they're usually in pemmican in their dried meat. So when they dry it up and then crush it up. So and then in order to preserve it too, you can make chokecherry patties. I mean, you grind up the chokecherries and everything, and you make chokecherry patties and then set it out to dry. So it's, if you, let's see, pemmican is if you have wild game, if you have dried meat from wild game, you take that plus you grind that up plus add in chokecherries to it, or any kind of berry fruit, like, and lard to make it. So, and they always eat dried meat with lard and salt. So
Rhonda, I had another question. Thinking about the farmers markets that you have, do you have many folks who do kind of homemade products in addition to things that are grown?
Yeah, they
things
do.
that like, okay,
They do. We have one that does soap. She usually makes salsa. She's been making they usually make stew and fry bread, but they weren't here tonight. The last time she had was chokecherry gravy, and then I had another one that had bullberry gravy, and I don't know what else she had. We have a lot of crafts, Indian native crafts. Pat and Clarice always has hot food. Let's see. I have Italian sodas. See, what else do I have? It all depends on what area we're at too, because we haven't moved areas this year yet. But other than that, there's only, I think I have like 4 or 5 vendors that actually bring native crafts or do some kind of traditional food. So what they do to use sweetgrass, they usually, you can burn it to smudge yourself. You can bless yourself. I always put it in my car. Yeah, you braid it. And it smells sweet. Yeah, there's a lot of recipes on pemmican. There's a nut, and I don't know. I just grew up. My family always just did what they had to do, and I just learned on the way. It's all family oriented, so it's like you get taught generation after generation the same thing. So, and it could change every generation changes. Any more questions?
Rhonda, did you see in there was a couple that she went through on how at least one of these, I think it might have been the Lakota Sioux, prepared their foods and dried it. Did you sit in on that one? It was, she went through the whole. Uh,
I've sat on hers with when we were in Montana. When we went to Montana, they did a native food conference in Montana, and I sat on hers then too. And then they had a I think he was an extension agent, but he worked at the Dull Knife College, and he brought all the stuff that like, because they use like the hooves, and then they use the corn, they use the choke cherries, they use all kinds of stuff, and he sat them all out, and he told them not to be shy. Come up and check this out, and then taste this and taste that and stuff like that. Pat and I were on that one because we switched sessions after sessions of that one, and I've sat on those guys when they did make pemmican and stuff. So, and they do all kinds of stuff with like sage. They make tea out of sage too. So, there's things that are medicinal that they use, like, because sage is for your stomach and stuff. And I think chokecherry tea, I'm not sure what chokecherry tea does. I just learned how to make it. And then the hawthorn berries, you can make tea out of that too. And there's other stuff that we can grow, like watercress, because I talked to Adam about growing watercress in hydroponics. There's wild onions that we can pick, that we use. wild carrots. But with wild onions, there's two different kinds. There's one that's a poisonous and one that's what's the actual wild onion. So you have to be careful. Let's see what else. The biscuit root that they use to make, that's how they get their flour. There's other stuff that natives that we can grow in our beds and stuff. So, and we have one grower that from the Growing Resilience that did do a lot of native plants and stuff like that. So, and he's still going for it. He keeps coming and asking me for questions, and I'm like, I'm not as young as you. I can't answer all these. But he's like, well, you're a Rappel. And I said, yeah, I'm a Rappel. And you're traditional, your family is traditional. I was like, yeah, but I know as much as you do. So it's kind of crazy. So I had to go ask like Nelson and Crawford and some of these elders to see his questions that had to relate back to him, because I didn't know. I told him to go ask them, but he wouldn't go ask them, so I had to go do it.
Well, it looks like we have just another minute or two left. Are there any last questions, Rhonda? Anything else you wanted to cover?
That's about all. I mean, we're working hard, trying to get food access to people, and we're trying to help every community. I know Jordan wants to get on when we do this again. He really does want to get on and talk to you about like what the tribe's efforts and stuff like that. I know he wanted to be on. He really did want to be on because I talked to him a lot. And if we do this again, yeah, I have other speakers that would like to get on too. So
I'll just say too, I'm so inspired and grateful for everything Rhonda and Dara and Clarice and Pat and others do, including like Jill gets to work with the Restoring Shoshone, Ancestral Shoshone Foods group. People are returning buffalo to the reservation, and it gives me hope for the future of everybody, right? About showing the way. And I'm so grateful for you.
yeah. Oh,
today.
good. I won't cook buffalo, guys. I won't eat it. Even ask Christine. I had a hard time eating those buffalo ribs in Minnesota, so they told me to eat them, so I did eat them, but I had a rough time trying to get to eat them. I don't know what it is. It's just me. And then they had rabbit this last time. I couldn't have it at all. So that was the only thing, is because it's once you're in one of those lodges, I couldn't eat it. So, and when you're helping out in them for traditional, you can't eat it, or there's certain foods that you can't eat. So, and out of respect to my mom, yeah, I couldn't do it.
All right. Well, Rhonda, do you think it's time we say goodbye to folks tonight?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone again for joining us. And thank you to everyone who spoke this evening. Emily's put up the slide there. So like we said at the top of this, if you're interested in getting involved in the Strong Native Communities Working Group or in any of the other working groups, and you don't have to pick just one, although most of us, we understand time is limited, you might only want to pick one, but there's plenty of others. You can join as many as you want. One of the advantages of having a variety of working groups is that you can engage on whatever topics you're most passionate about. But if you're interested, we would love to have you. We're always looking for more folks to build our capital for the organization. Our next speaker series is going to be June 24th, same time, same place. More details will follow. So keep an eye on our social media accounts Keep an eye on our website, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful evening.
See you guys.